Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Oh, no, you can go. Oh, okay, then never mind. I'm all set.
Okay, alright. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part2. Joining me today is the one and only, the real Manos.
Hello, I'm the real Manos.
He is. So normally we do fan film reviews. Every so often we get to branch out and do something else on these Thursday episodes. And today's one of those something elses. Today we're doing a fan-made comic book. This is called Legacies of the DC Animated Universe. It is available on its very own website, which will of course be linked down in the description. We're doing all of the issues that are available as of this moment, which is basically the first 7. There's a 0 issue and 2 specials, but it's 7 comics. And this is a project dreamed up by some folks over at the YouTube channel Watchtower Database, which is a YouTube channel completely devoted to the old DCAU, which isn't that old anymore since they're now adding stuff to it. So anyway, this is, I don't know, it seemed like a really, really interesting project and definitely wanted to talk about it, see what people thought. So, Manos, what'd you think of these 7 issues and just the general premise of the project?
Well, I was really excited about the idea, and once I got a look at the website and the individual issues, I was really impressed by it. It looks a lot like the companion comics DC used to do for its DCAU once it was going on, which I know. I bought a lot of those comics. I bought a lot of the Batman and some of the Justice League ones, and this fits right in there. Like, if you had shown me these and told me these were new comics that kind of followed the continuity, then I believe you, because they look that genuinely good.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really helps. Like, I've wanted to do fan comics on the show for a while. There's just not a ton out there that can be done because it's such a, comics are such a labor of love kind of thing, and it takes a lot of work to do just a comic.
Yeah.
But luckily, DCAU, I mean, it's animated, right? And the whole point of animation is streamlining, minimalism. Bruce Timm's style is all about that in a lot of ways. And so the animated series style really does lend itself well to a fan-made comic adaptation in a fun way, because it looks seriously right off the screen kind of thing.
It does, down to the coloring, down to the character design. Characters are all unmodeled, too. So it really does capture that very well.
Yeah, and then there's also the stuff with, like, doing designs for characters that we either never truly saw or only saw just, like in the background of one of the episodes of Unlimited. Those characters show up left and right, and it's really cool to see all that kind of come together.
That was really nice, because I don't believe Peacemaker's ever been in this series, right?
As far as I know, no. Like, I don't even know Peacemaker. I tout myself up as a DC guy. I don't even know that guy.
Well, I'm not much better. I only know of Peacemaker being referenced by other characters and fans. He's never really popped up in anything I've read.
Okay.
But I just know of him.
Yeah, I know, like, Gypsy shows up in one of these issues, and, like, the most she ever got was just running in the background at one point in Unlimited. So, yeah, they pull a lot of really, like, these characters that you just never even heard of. Which is really cool to see them get to explore that and do stuff with that. So, yeah, I'll agree. The art is dead on point. What'd you think of the direction they're going for the story?
It's interesting, and it is definitely jumping into something that I always enjoyed from the Justice League. I thought the strongest stories in the Justice League series, either the regular Justice League or Unlimited, was the kind of like tete-a-tete they were going with between the U.S. government and having trouble like who's protecting who and how much is too far. All that stuff was really good. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to see them pick up the paces from that, where also it's like right after the attack from Darkseid. So the DC universe is kind of picking the pieces from that, and the government is logically trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do after this? This was pretty big, although this is like the second intended invasion that they had tried. So it's now pushing characters in certain directions, and it's nice that most of this is pretty much finished. As far as like the DCAU, for the most part, I guess. But it's kind of cool now that we've had some distance from it. Now that these guys can like play around with what's going on, with the Batman Beyond universe, because they know where some of these characters are heading. And then there's some blank areas for some characters, like what happened to these characters that never was really answered. That's kind of an advantage. Because, like, let's say they were, like, doing a fan comic based on a currently running animated series that didn't have all the questions answered.
Yeah. I kind of... I'm of two minds of it. I do like quite a bit what they're doing, to introduce Checkmate, which is, of course, from DC Comics, and it was handled back in the mid-2000s when it was running. To introduce
Checkmate has never really caught on.
Yeah, but to introduce them in the DCAU, I think is a cool idea as a check against the Justice League, it's very much in line with the narrative from the end of Justice League Unlimited. My thing is, though, this is such a big universe, or not necessarily universe. I mean, the quintessence shows up, so it's kind of universal, but like, this is such a big event kind of thing. And if you look at the dates on some of these issues, I mean, like, the first issue of this was in 2015, and then the latest one was released in February of 2018, and that's like, 2-3 years between between 7 issues. I feel like doing a big overlapping, big connection kind of story is a bit of a mistake if you can't release it, relatively speaking, back to back. And I think you could really get away with just doing some fan-made stuff to connect stuff as one and done kind of comics. So, like, while I like the direction they're going, I think it's an interesting thing that if we had gotten a season 3 of Justice League Unlimited, we might see stuff like this. I don't know. I feel like they might be setting themselves up for a story they can't really complete, and that's maybe a problem.
Well, that's true, but that's the case. That's the case with doing anything fan made like this, because none of these guys are getting paid for this.
Yeah.
At least I don't assume they are. And that's actually, I've thought about doing fan fiction, and I've thought about doing fan comics. I've even toyed around with it in the past, and I don't have the time, and the money isn't there. So, like, I'd rather spend the time working on my own comics where I could actually make money off those things. So these people are doing these books, these issues as best as they can. And that's the problem. I agree. That is an issue with doing a large overarching story, because they're just not going to be able to like churn these out monthly, because there's just like they have lives and they need to get paid for this stuff. I don't know how it's being set up. I don't know if the creators of the book are all working for free, or if they're paying the artist, or they're paying the writer. I don't know.
I believe the artist is a member of the YouTube team, so I believe my guess would be that he's just part of the team, and they're all just doing it as labor of love.
Yeah, it's a labor of love.
I don't have any confirmation on that, but that's what I think's going on. And I mean, it's great to do that, and that's what I think most fan projects should be. But then I also think that you should tailor your story to match something like that. So if they plan to do this for years, and they don't care how consistently they don't care how quickly they can get something out, they just want consistent quality, and they don't care if they're doing this 5 years from now. More power to you. Great. I just think that's something to consider, is if you're like looking at the rate at which you can complete it, and maybe tailoring or adjusting the story you want to tell based on that would be something I bring up, because I've seen fan projects that just can't get completed and they set up like a big story, and then it's just you're never going to get to pay it off. And that, I mean, that's a problem in its own sense, but that's just something you don't want to do in general.
That's correct. I'm actually looking this through the lens of like being an independent comic creator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I am, actually. Well, I am that. And I have to kind of tailor the story arcs I'm doing in Red Knight for just that. Like, how much can I, because it all costs me money and, trying to put the book out there. And I'm thinking, okay, what can I cut? What can I tailor to fit into the story? Because I can't afford to do quarter vowels, with a Red Knight storyline. Like, I can't do 12 issues of something just because I can. Because I can't. So I have to kind of judge what needs to be going. So far, from what I've seen in each issue, I think they've done a pretty good job making sure every panel, every page counts. Mm-hmm. The beginning stuff, I thought the Zero issue was a nice explanation of the universe. Very DC.
Mm-hmm. Like you got the shattering and everything. Yep.
I've seen that kind of thing before DC to start stories and story arcs and Zero issues and shit like that. And I thought that was done really well and really in character of the DC AU or the DCU really. And yeah, with each issue, I thought it's funny with the first part with Terry and Bruce, and dealing with whatever's going to be going on. That almost reminded me of the No Futures crossover. Oh
yeah. Or Futures End, wasn't it?
Futures End, yeah. I can never remember. Yeah, the Futures End crossover. Mm-hmm. This is better. Ouch. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, if you guys are listening, who created this, you did something better than the real thing. So congratulations.
Yeah. No, you're right. Like that's very reminiscent. I thought it was so cool to see some of the cosmic DC characters all like DCAU characters all here because I can't remember and rip my nerd card up if you want. I'm pretty sure we never saw Zeus in the DCAU. I'm pretty sure we never saw Shazam. And if we ever saw the Phantom Stranger, he was probably one of those background characters.
Yeah.
So to see the cosmic DCAU together like that as the quintessence, that's really cool to merge the comic book world and the animated series timelines a little bit harder. That's really, really cool. There's a lot of deep pulls in here. I like the story well enough, and I want to get more into just the story itself in a second, but I like the story well enough. The thing I'm most just amazed by is how well a lot of this art works, and in ways that you're not even thinking about. You mentioned Old Man Bruce and Terry together. This is obviously post-epilogue, but you notice Bruce is wearing his gray ghost outfit again?
Yeah, he is. It's adorable.
That's fucking awesome. That is so cool. So I'm in love with so much of that stuff. But I don't know, the story itself, I really like the tone of it. I'm a little iffy on some of the writing, the way in which it's written. Particularly in the last special, a lot of it feels very like a big stretch and just a lot of things to try to really stretch and try to bridge some of these gaps. They're talking about Killer Croc and they mention, the hip among us call it splicing. I'm like, that it feels really unnecessary to put that in there. You're laying the groundwork for it. I don't feel like you needed to straight drop the word splicing.
Yeah.
Or at least not to drop it in that way, to say, you see what we're doing is splicing and then do the bold italicized his DNA with more animal DNA, and then that just, you could fill it in yourself that's what it's referencing. So I feel a little bit of it's ham-fisted's too harsh a term, but it's a little heavy-handed.
I would advise the writer to be a little mindful of that, to bring more of his own kind of work to this story, and be careful of just name dropping and rehashing. I would just that would be my advice. Try and find that happy balance between the two, because of course we want this shit kind of fleshed out a little bit more and picked up from the original series and maybe connections made, but be careful if because when you do this kind of thing, there's a danger of just having the feeling that you're just creating a laundry list of fan name drops and references. Yeah, just because I think that's why a lot of fan fiction can get a bad reputation. So I would just, for future issues, just be a little careful of that, because when the writing here is strong, it's really entertaining, and when it's at the weakest in a couple of places, like you just mentioned, it does come off a little bit like checking off things. Yeah.
And so, like, I think the weakest for me is this final issue, the final special, because it's just like, it just becomes like a tour of, okay, let's reference Killer Croc and splicing, let's reference Gorilla City, let's reference Batman Beyond's Mr. Freeze, let's reference this, let's reference Derek Powers eventually taking over Wayne Corps. There's just a lot of like just thing. It's like, it's a little tired. It gets a bit exhausting. And I don't know, I don't have that as much with some of the other stuff. Like, maybe it's because it's a deeper pull, so it feels more natural when, like, what does he call himself? Director Bones. No idea who that is. I thought it was going to end up being, like, their version of Black Mask at first.
Oh, no, really? Director Bones is a character. From, let's see, first time I saw Director Bones was in the comic book Chase. And he's a weird fucking character. He's really strange because he's a skeleton in a suit that smokes, and he's in charge of a spy organization, part of the government. I don't know. It's one of those things in comics where you think that's stupid, but okay, I'll go with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't want to get too hard on the references because there were, like, I'm not going to call it subtle, but it's less distracting references that I really, really did appreciate. Like, putting Orion on Darkseid's throne, I think, was a really, really cool idea and a really great plot point. And then to have Orion within context say Orion is, as a reference to the current Mr. Miracle series, I thought was a really, really cool thing. And to be fair, that's more a reference to Rock of Ages, but still. That was a really cool pull. And it's definitely walking a line, and I think there's a right way to do it and a wrong way, and at times just use your best judgment, maybe err on the side of caution would be my advice.
That was one of my favorite sequences. I enjoyed that they came kind of to a peaceful solution between the Justice League, the government, and the world's governments, actually. New Gods, and then how they resolve the fact that, oh, hey, Apocalypse doesn't have a leader, and we got a riot. And I thought that fell into place so well. And yeah, I would agree with you. I think I personally felt the way that kind of fit in, it felt so natural, and I felt it was one of the strongest scenes, especially with him and Superman. Yeah,
I agree. And like, that's the thing is, what I think is, I feel like that was plotted to happen a long time ago, and the Orion is reference came in because Mr. Miracle's really popular right now. That's what I feel like. And other stuff in this issue, like, what is this issue number? I'm trying to remember. Issue 4 is, I think, my strongest of all the stuff, because it's just got, like, it's got the kind of only in comics kind of opening. It's like, there's no way to defuse the bomb. It'll take a miracle. Ba-da-da-da. Like, that's really good. Yeah, that's really good. I love the scene with Barda talking to Scott as, like, they're now separated, and Barda and Wonder Woman kind of making a connection because they never had any interaction in the show. Manos, let me tell you how excited I am for this to have Wonder Woman in it. Because, like, you and I have talked about this off recording. We're both big Wonder Woman fans. There's not a lot of great fan-made content out there for Wonder Woman. this is a great place to explore her more as a character, and I'm really excited to be reading that in the future.
I agree. This is a nice look into the beginnings of Barda being part of the Justice League. And yeah, here's one of the things about the real Justice League cartoon that always kind of like, I don't know if I'd say bothered me, maybe more of a nitpick, is that they really did gloss through Wonder Woman's like origin and background and her stories in the series. And occasionally didn't seem to understand the character at times.
Yeah, there were moments.
There were moments that, like, hey, they've come up with a disease to kill all men. Maybe that's not so bad of an idea. Like, yeah, Wonder Woman would never say that!
Yeah.
That episode, I can't even watch that episode. Because I just thought that was really a bad handling of her character. This is a chance. I don't know what characters they want to focus on for the series, but my hope is maybe they could fill in some of the stuff that the real series kind of left out and forgot about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly excited to see where they take Batman and Wonder Woman's relationship. This is an interesting little side tangent I don't want to spend too much time on, though, but the New 52 era Batman Beyond comic did a lot of really interesting stuff that's kind of on the same wavelength of this, where it was like kind of taking whatever it wanted from the comics and then taking the history of the DCAU and just telling stories in the Batman Beyond time period. And like at one point they did they had a whole Brainiac Returns thing, and spoilers, Brainiac gets defeated because Wonder Woman comes back. And like you'd never seen Wonder Woman in Batman Beyond before. It just never happened because she was never introduced. Like, we know the real world reasons. Anyway, so like Wonder Woman shows up, and then Superman's all pissed at her, and he goes, "Oh, so now you come back." And like it gets into the whole thing of Wonder Woman like it gets really interesting because that comics timeline had Wonder Woman leave the DCAU to go to the Justice Lord's timeline so she could be with that version of Batman, and then they tried to clean up that world together. And that was like, it was a really interesting idea on a lot of levels. So like, just the future of Wonder Woman in the DCAU is really interesting, given that they've firmly established Bruce is a lonely old man. So what's going to happen with their relationship? That's something I'm really interested to see this comic tackle.
And I happen to notice there's some hints of jealousy from Batgirl. Mm-hmm. In those issues, because it's definitely like referencing that. I don't know,
Bruce Timm, and that is such a Bruce Timm.
Yeah, I know he's picking up on that. Well, look, that's part of the history.
It is part of the continuity. I agree.
You have to kind of like play. You have to kind of pick it up, whether you like it or not, and that's the fun and not fun part of writing characters like this in universes that have already been lived in. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting idea. Because you know what? Because that's actually an example of what we were just talking about. Like the Justice League cartoon ignored the Batman side characters. We never really got to see them involved. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to see kind of their reflections on, what Batman's been doing all this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, like, there's reasons for why they didn't get involved. There's the whole bat embargo, which we don't have to get into. But, yeah, it is really interesting to be able to go into that side of things now in the fanverse. And to be fair, these guys, I do recommend checking out the Watchtower database. I did the thing where, like, I saw one video and I really liked it, and then I subscribed, and then I started going through their backlog and watching a bunch of their stuff. It's really interesting. It's really fun stuff to, like, they timelined Static Shock and where it fits in. They timelined where Batman Beyond takes place. It's all really interesting and fun to get into. But these guys have read the old DCAU comics. They've seen all the episodes of the show. They've really gotten into this. And so they are an authority on, like, how to write this. Short of Paul Dini or Bruce Timm coming in to write more of their stuff, this is kind of the closest you'll get to where things should have been headed or were headed. And that's really interesting. But yeah, you're right. The Batman, side characters come in cool ways. I like that they they weren't afraid to do some redesigns of their own. They give a story reason for why Croc looks different. Nightwing lost the mullet because it's too 90s. I like that.
That's a great line.
Yeah, that's really cool. Then they're adding their own stuff to this, like having what's his name from the future crossover episode, having him create Vanishing Point in the DCAU. Again, these are all just really cool things to be able to do now, and I really appreciate it for that. Yeah,
it's wonderful how easily these things can connect. Definitely picking up kind of the ideas that was going on in the series, because I remember I watched. I was so obsessed with the shows when they came on. I would buy the DVD box sets and I would watch all the commentaries. This is back when DVD commentaries existed. Now they don't on cartoons. But they would talk about like how we didn't plan for these things when we made these shows like 10 years earlier. But when we started doing Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, all these things started to like come together. And that's when you have something good going on. And yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of that in here. Yeah, definitely. It's cool to see how they're making the pieces fit together, even though they probably were never intended to. Again, Checkmate feels like the exact place they would have gone if they got a season 3 of Unlimited. It feels so natural. And that's really cool. I do like that they've got 2 artists working on it now. They got let me make sure I credit these people right. They got James Strecker, who's been helping with the story. Ted Kendrick's been the writer and plotter, and so I guess they're co-plotting. But then for the special, the Asylum special, they got Marcelo Milque. So it's really cool that you've got 2 people doing the art, so maybe this will be able to come out a little more frequently. Let's see, issue 4 came out November of 2017. The special came out February 2018, the second special. So it's still like a larger gap than we're used to as comic book guys, but that's a lot more reasonable, a lot more consistent. And so I think that's a pretty good pace of content. If you can keep 2 artists on, that's a pretty good pace to get things done for a fan project. Yeah. Considering how long and how much work goes into producing an independent comic, especially when you're not getting paid to do, and one you won't be making any money off of, I feel like what they've come up with has been pretty considered. Yeah, I mean it's consistent quality and it reads great altogether. I'm just trying to put myself in the mind of someone who's sitting there and reading this as it's coming out, because that's what I'm going to plan to do now, and that's just something I've thought of. Yeah, this was a quick read for me. I sat down and I thought I was going to do maybe one a day while we were kind of getting ready to do this video, and I kind of shot through it. Yeah, I mean, it's not that fast, or it's not that hard to get through. I really do like this is kind of tangential, but I really do like the setup of their website, how it lets you choose the method in which you want to read it. That's great for people on different devices. So that's a really cool feature. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of them. Did you see that they do little teaser trailers for when they have new issues out? I'll be honest, I did not look at those. Those are pretty cool. They're well animated. Sometimes they just kind of do a pan or zoom kind of thing, a fade in with the cover or whatever. And sometimes they're creating some brand new animation for it, which is pretty cool stuff. So that's definitely worth it. There's a minute 30 trailer that I put up before this episode for people. That gives you kind of the heart of what this is going to be. So I really do appreciate the level of work that they're putting into this. It's really, really impressive stuff. It's one thing to have a comic and post the images online, but they're really going the extra mile to make this feel like a professional, polished product, which is nice. I would agree. I mean, I think this is this work. I think could easily stand alongside of the comic books that DC printed as coordinating with the DCAU. So yeah, I mean, it's very impressive. It was a little more impressive than I was expecting. Yeah.
tangential stuff again. I want to actually talk paneling a bit, because they're really good at that, which is the one thing I would expect a fan comic not to be good at. Because, like, fans usually have great ideas for stories. We've all heard, like, the fan theory that we wish someone would turn into a story before. And fan art is always really impressive. The thing a lot of fans don't know how to do is panel when it comes to making comics. And these guys have a really strong sense of it, particularly in issue number 2, when we get the reveal for Checkmate. And Amanda Waller's on the phone, and we get the chessboard style imagery in the page. That is really, really great, strong panel work, and it looks fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that. So yeah, and then there's a lot of that stuff too, like the first or the 0 issue. I'm sorry. Like there's a lot of really cool panel layouts, big splash, epic kind of stuff. I particularly like the hand of God creating the DCAU. That's cool as shit to see. And the panel reveal of it is just fantastic stuff. So yeah, I'm really impressed with this on multiple levels. They did a fantastic job with this.
I've always enjoyed the cosmic hand image that I've seen pop up in DC from time to time.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't turn out to be Dr. Manhattan's hand.
Oh my God! Yes, it is. It's blue, dude. Oh shit! You just ruined it for everyone.
Sorry.
DC's doing their fucking crossovers right now. The monthly crossovers. They did the Looney Tunes a couple months back. They did Hanna-Barbera, and they're doing Hanna-Barbera again. And so my thing is, Dr. Manhattan fucked shit up. Because now fucking Bugs Bunny just exists in the Legion of Superheroes. It's just a thing now.
Yep, nothing you can do about it.
Dr. Manhattan was like, I really like comic books, and I also really like Looney Tunes. I'm gonna make this happen. All right.
Who knew he had a sense of humor?
You know. Okay. Well, I don't think I have much else to say on this besides that I'm very excited to see what they've got coming in the future.
Yeah, I had never heard of this until you brought this up to me, and I'm looking forward to more. I really enjoyed these.
Yeah, and I do recommend going to subscribe to the Watchtower Database YouTube channel. It's really interesting to see. They got a pretty good sense of humor. They do some pretty good videos if you're into the whole that whole side of a fan base.
I hate videos about comic books. What are you talking about?
All right.
Yuck.
All right. Let's go ahead and go on to a rating system. I think I will go first, and I will give this 4.5 out of 5 young Derek Powers just vomiting all over Bruce Wayne.
I think I am going to go... Ooh, I think I'm going to go with 4.5 mullets out of 5.
Nice. All right. Manos, what will we be talking about next time?
Next time, hey, get ready. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
We're going to get truly outrageous with a Gem in the Holograms fan film.
Holy shit, yes. Okay. That is new.
And it is called Truly Outrageous.
Truly Outrageous, a Gem and Holograms fan film. Awesome. I'm excited. All right, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Realist.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.